Good afternoon. It's just coming up to 10 to 1 on the 12th of June, and as you can see, I'm back over the little pool today. I'm over the other side from where I was last time though, over towards where that patch of lilies was, and the wind is just blowing beautifully into this corner here. It's coming down the lake instead of going that way for a change, and it's just blowing beautifully down here. I've seen quite a number of fish in and around here and out towards the other side. I'm fishing a slightly different setup today, as you can see. I've brought centrepin along with me today. Thought it's about time I gave it an airing, and I do like fishing with the centrepin, it's good fun. And then that's £6 line and a £6 hook link. But I've had a change on the float today. And what I've done is I'm actually fishing a slider float. So I've got a 4BB, which is above that I've got a plastic bead that slides up and down the float, and that float's free running. And then above that I've got 2 stop knots set at the depth that I want. And then below there I've actually got 2 number 4s, and that last number 4 is almost touching bottom at the moment, and I'll have a play around with the depth in a little while. I've plumbed the depth and had a few casts about, and it's fairly weed free over here as well, which is another reason why I'm over here. There's a gentleman over to one side of me, he's got a couple of carp rods out, and there's another bloke further down the lake. I'm not quite sure what he's doing at the moment. And a little bit of a change today. Today I've brought some ground bait with me from when I was fishing at another venue the other day, and I want to get this used up. So I've got some, it's just black canal and river mixed together. It's quite a sweet ground bait, and it's got a few bits of sweet corn left in it and a little bit of hemp. And for hook baits, I've brought along some luncheon meat with me, and I'm going to fish luncheon meat today. We'll start off on luncheon meat. I've got sweet corn with me as well, and I've got the good old bread and bread mash on standby too. But I really am after one of those still water barbels, so that's why I'm on the luncheon meat today, hoping that's going to prove productive. And the reason why I'm fishing the slider float today is because it's quite deep in here, as you know. It's 9 foot more or less down at the edge, or just past the rod tip, and with a centrepin reel it's very difficult to sort of try and cast when you're fishing at that depth. It's much easier to use a slider float, and also it's easier to use a slider float in these sort of depths anyway. And also if I want to go out that little bit further beyond the ledge where I'm fishing, I can just move the stop knots up, and I can do that, or I can move the stop knots down if I want to fish shallower, because what this does is right in front of me, it's quite deep. It is a good 9.5 foot right in front of me, but then where the shadow of the tree is there, it starts to shallow up, and it goes quite shallow up towards those lilies, which would seem the obvious place to fish really. But I'm going to save that little part. I'm going to start in front of me, and then if I don't do any good there, then I'm going to move up to the shallower water. But there's a lot of fish in there at the moment, and I don't really want to be casting into them and spooking them. Anyway, I'll get this out, use the float as a marker, get some ground bait round it, and start fishing. Put it out in front of me. Same thing, I still sink the line, and then just kick the spool back and let the line run through the float until it hits the stop knots, and then the weight takes it down, and there we are. I can still shallow up and fish on the drop with it if I need to, but I'm not particularly planning to. Right, I'm going to get a little bit of this ground bait round the float then. I'm not fishing down a ledge or anything, so I don't really need to flatten the balls. It's pretty even where I am. I think 3 of these will do for now. Be enough to attract something in, I would have imagined. Give a good bed of bait on the bottom. And I've put them out in a triangle around the float. So 1 each side and 1 out beyond it. The only trouble with the black ground bait, it does make a mess of your hands. There's a lot of rain forecast at about 5 o'clock, but I've brought the umbrellas. I brought 2, one for me and one for the camera, and we'll see how it goes and how heavy it gets. Anyway, let's get some bait on and see if we can catch something. I'm on a size 12 hook, so I'll just turn it through one side, push it back through, turn it 90 degrees and pull it into the meat. That'll do. And one of the reasons why I've got a much heavier float on that I'd use is because with slider floats you want the weight to take the bait down, but in this case, because it's a heavy bait, I want the float to be able to support the cubes of luncheon meat. If I use too fine a tip, the weight of the luncheon meat will just pull it under. Just break up a couple of pieces of luncheon meat, throw those around the float as well, but there's plenty of activity on the pool at the moment. Mainly from those ubiquitous carp, but as I said, I'd rather catch a barbel, a tench or a chub, to be honest. Time for tea while we wait. found that with using lunch and meat as a bait, it's usually much slower than a lot of other baits in my experience, and it often takes a little while to build up the swim and get the fish carp hanging around there. I get the fish going on the bait, but once you do it, it usually produces quite well. I've just started getting the first few touches on the float now. It's about 2:10. It's took a little while. Awful lot of carp round by the lilies here and all round the edge, but it's not particularly the carp I'm after, as I've said, so I had one bite which I missed, but then again, that's often the way when you're sitting here waiting for something to happen. Line tends to drift a little bit. Well, it's taken a little while, but eventually we've got something, although I've got a feeling it might well be a carp again, unfortunately, but I do like carp, as you know, but when I'm trying to catch other things, trouble is there's not many of the other species in here. I think there's more carp in here than there are barbel, chub and so forth, and so the problem being is it's always going to be very difficult to gotta watch it round this. There's an overhanging tree just to the one side of me. I've got to watch that, but I'd rather it stayed down that end than obviously came back and headed off to these lilies, because that could be very dangerous and very difficult to. I'm having to keep the rod low for that very reason, because of these overhanging tree branches. That's why I haven't got the rod up like I normally would. I've no idea where it is at the moment, because I've had the rod low and it went off at quite a lick, hence why I think it's a carp, obviously. But perhaps I'll be lucky and perhaps it won't be. Perhaps it'll be one of these nice barbel that live in here that weigh about £7 apparently, or go up to £7 should I say, so. Ah, there's the float. It's a good thing about the centrepin. Modern day reels have very good clutches on them, they're good, but the centrepin, there's no feeling like it, and you can just increase or decrease the pressure with your thumb so easily. But it's very tactile. I think the other chap's got one as well and he's waiting to net one by the looks of it. Over the other side, he must have decided to come on the feed. Heard that horrible pinging sensation as it went off of the fin. I don't like that. So at least it doesn't seem to be weed here. So although the weed is obviously holds a lot of the fish, but oh, got time for a tea I think. He likes something down there because he keeps trying to get down deep. certainly put a good bend in the rod. I like catching them on, you know, when I go places like Jubilee Pools or other places, and I put on, you know, bite alarms and sit back and chill and relax for a bit, but it doesn't compare to on the float. Yeah, it's a mirror carp again. I think we'll take our time with this one. The other chap hasn't got his in yet either. He's mind you, I think he's a bit more geared up for it than I am, but it's a lovely way to play him on the pin. Doesn't appeal to everybody, and I don't expect it to. We're all different, but anybody that uses one, and there are several other people on the internet, YouTube, that I watch using them, and to good effect. And as I said, I've been using one since I was 18 years old, and so it's second nature to me. But they're difficult to cast with for some people, but once you do, once you learn it and you master it, it's for this sort of fishing in this sort of pool where you're only fishing close in. I'm not trying to cast ridiculous distances or anything. It's just absolutely ideal. But I put the other reel on. I brought the other reel previously because I didn't really know the pool, didn't know how far I'd be having to fish out to find fish and that. And oh, he's got his in. There's like a ledge right down here. There's a ledge there, and he keeps trying to go around there all the time. Or she, yeah. There we go. Oh, thought that was ready for a second. I see people like Mark Erdwin, he fishes for barbel with the centrepin quite often, and tench, I believe. I think I've seen him got the centrepin out when it's within distance. And just, it's much more tactile, you know. Chris Yates, Bob James, people like that used to use them, John Wilson, and it's a much more tactile way of fishing. Tends to really keep you feeling like you're in touch. Right. Oof, maybe not. Every time I think he's ready, he tells me something different. It's a bit difficult with these sloping banks. Very steep. Not the best angle. Come on. But it is in the net. There we go. Well, after the last disaster, that's a bit of a result. When I came last time. Ooh. Right, I'm going to take that up the bank, get the unhooking mat, and give it away, providing I don't fall in. Right, let's go see what that weighs. Well, I've just had him on the scales, £10, 10 ounces. Hold still, buddy. We're going to put you back in a minute. So, Not bad on a float rod, eh? Makes good fun of it. Anyway, enjoy. Well, he's gone back safe. I had to go round over by the lilies to let him back because it's a bit difficult from here. But that's not bad, is it? Centrepin, £6 line, £1.25 float rod, and a slider float, and a bit of luncheon meat. Doesn't all have to be bite alarms and boilies, does it? No hair rig either. Meat's direct on the hook, so. Right, I'm going to wrap the vlog up here now. There's not much happening. Seeing an odd patch of bubbles and odd fish topping, mainly carp, but nothing else happening. I did think about staying on, but I've just looked at the phone and the weather warning has remained the same. Rain's supposed to be coming down any minute now and for the rest of the night, so I think I'll quit while I'm winning rather than carrying on and getting soaking wet when there's no need to. And I've had a bit of fun. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and until the next time, all the best with your angling.